What's up, guys? Welcome back to more Reddit stories about Karens, crazy people, and anything else we find interesting. Hope you're all doing awesome, and as usual, we got some more Reddit posts to check out today, so be sure to share your thoughts about today's stories down in the comments, and let's get into it. Pipe exploded on the weekend, but hey, at least we saved on overtime. In 2006, I worked as a maintenance technician in a small office building. My job was to make sure everything works properly: air conditioning, plumbing, electricity, all that stuff. Then we got a new boss from some big corporate office, and he was obsessed with cutting costs. First week, he tells us all in a very serious voice, from now on, absolutely no overtime, no matter what, no exceptions. We all kind of looked at each other like, is he serious? So Friday afternoon, around 4:30 p.m., I get an alert from the boiler room. Pressure in one of the water pipes is very high. I check it, and pipe is vibrating like crazy. I know if we don't release the pressure or fix it, it's going to explode. I go to the boss and tell him, this pipe is dangerous. I need maybe 1 to 2 hours overtime to fix it tonight. He looks at the clock and says, it's past 5 soon, no overtime. We'll handle it Monday. Okay, boss, no problem. So I go home. Saturday morning, I get a call from the security guy who works weekends. He's freaking out. Water is pouring out of the boiler room. It's flooded the hallway. What do I do? I laugh. I say, too late, nothing we can do now. Perhaps swim? On Monday, the boss walks in and smells wet carpet and disaster. Half the ground floor is underwater. Documents ruined. IT equipment drowned. Rest in peace. He comes to me angry. Why didn't you stop this? I just say, you told me no overtime. Pipe didn't want to wait till Monday. Cleanup costs thousands. And guess what? From that day, boss never said no to overtime again. In fact, from then on, when we reported just an inkling of a suspicion that something might be wrong, he simply said, do what you have to do. Just don't tell me the hours. Sometimes pipe is the best teacher. A flat tire and a lesson learned. This happened about 20 years ago, back when our village was still quiet and far less populated than it is today. Just dirt roads, wide open yards, and neighbors who knew each other well enough to ask for sugar, coffee, hot water, or start a feud over a fence line. There was this teenage boy from a few houses down, around 14 or 15, who loved riding his beat-up BMX bike like he was training for the X Games. The main dirt road passed right by our property, but for whatever reason he preferred cutting through our yard. And not just anywhere, but straight through my father's plants. My dad had a small garden back then. Nothing fancy, just some shrubs, flowering plants, and a few vegetables growing in neat rows. It was his pride, something he tended to every day. So you can imagine his frustration every time the kids zoomed through and left tire marks across the soil. Dad warned him, more than once, stick to the road, don't ride over the plants. The boy would nod and mumble an apology, but the next afternoon there he'd be again, carving tracks right where he wasn't supposed to. Now, my dad isn't the kind to yell or make a scene, but he is the kind to get a little creative. One day he went out back to the old shed near the edge of our property. It was a broken down thing, leaning to one side and filled with old tools and scrap wood. From inside, he pulled out a nasty looking plank, weathered and full of rusty nails. It looked like it had fallen off the shed itself. He placed it just off the edge of the garden, right where the kid usually cut across, and lightly covered it with some dry leaves and dirt. It blended in perfectly. To anyone riding through fast, it'd just look like a patch of ground. The next day, like clockwork, we heard the familiar sound of bike tires crunching dirt. Then, pop, hiss, followed by a startled yell. The boy had hit the trap dead on. Front tire was blown out. He stood there, staring at his bike in disbelief. About an hour later, he came back, with his mother. She was angry, demanding to know why there were nails on the ground. Dad met them, calm as ever. Why would you do something like that? She asked, pointing at the boy's damaged bike. Dad just said, where exactly was he riding? The boy, quietly and with a bit of guilt, pointed toward the garden. And where did I tell him not to ride? My father asked. There was a long silence. Then the mom turned to her son and gave him a scolding so fierce I think the birds flew out of the trees. No more questions, no more blaming. Just a red-faced teenager and his mom hauling the busted bike home down the very dirt road he should have stayed on in the first place. He went back to watering his plants like nothing happened. The garden stayed undisturbed after that. Roommate stole infused baked goods from my room and is now mad at me because she has to get tested for a job. This is maybe one of the most infuriating things that has ever happened to me. I have posted about my roommate before because she has the world's largest victim complex, but I have never had issues with her going into my room and stealing stuff. We share food with each other all the time, but always ask about it. She is a new grad nurse, and I am deferring from nursing school to help my mom while she undergoes cancer treatment. Because of this, I have only started taking edibles and smoking again over the past couple of months. My mom made some fun cookies, and I put a few in a Tupperware on top of my dresser. They were not in a common area, and therefore there is no reason for me to label my cookies because they're in my room. This afternoon, I get a call from my roommate, and she admits to going into my room while I was gone to see if I had any sweet treats, and proceeds to eat one of my cookies. She is absolutely inconsolable, cursing, sobbing, panicking. She apologizes for taking something of mine without asking, but claims that we share food so often that it was irresponsible of me to not label my cookies. So I obviously just ruined her life and cost her the new ER job that she starts in about a month. Absolutely effing ridiculous. I'm crashing at my friend's house because I just cannot stand to be around her right now. I can usually squeeze out a droplet of empathy and understanding in situations like this, but I am under so much stress right now that I am fresh out. She is truly the least self-accountable and rational person I have ever met. I found out my neighbor was living in my attic for months. So I guess the wildest thing I've ever experienced happened last year, and I still don't know how to explain it without sounding like I'm making it up, but here goes. It started with these little things going missing. I live alone in a pretty quiet neighborhood, so I figured I was just forgetful. A protein bar here, a sock there. Whatever. Then my TV would be on a different input than I left it. Nothing huge, just enough to make me second-guess myself. The weirdest part? I'd hear these faint bumps in the ceiling sometimes. I chalked it up to raccoons or whatever. My house is old, stuff creaks. But then one night I came home late from work, and I could swear I saw a shadow move past the vent opening in the hallway ceiling. I told myself I was tired, imagination, but I couldn't shake the feeling. So I set up one of those cheap motion sensor cameras I bought off Amazon, pointed it straight at the attic access panel in the hallway. 2 nights later I got a notification at 2:17 a.m., motion detected. I opened the clip, and my stomach dropped. There was a person climbing down from the attic, like full-on quietly stepping down the ladder, looking around, and heading into my kitchen. I froze. I was in the house at the time that clip was taken. I called the cops immediately, locked myself in my room with the bat, freaking out while they did a full sweep. They found no one at first, but when they checked the attic, there was a little setup up there. A sleeping bag, some snacks, a small camping stove, empty water bottles. Someone had clearly been living up there. The person was my neighbor's grown son, who apparently had some drug issues and got kicked out a while back. He broke in when I was on vacation a few months earlier and just never left. He'd sneak down at night to grab food or watch TV. He got arrested. I moved out 3 weeks later. I still have trouble sleeping in total silence, because now every creak makes me think someone's crawling around above me. Am I the asshole for refusing to apologize for slapping my boyfriend when he smashed our birthday cake to my face? I'm a 34-year-old female. My boyfriend Charles, 38, and I celebrate our birthdays together. This year, I contributed a small private room at a restaurant, and we invited 11 people. 4 of them are my local friends. The rest are his family members. I wanted to celebrate a new achievement in my career and thought it would be great to just splurge a little and get some delicious food. So we had access to the menu, drinks, and our cake. I had agreed to pay for half of the food, aside from having rented the small place myself. The space was paid for in advance, the food at the end, as in any restaurant. We had issues last year because I felt that he was doing low-effort things, while I always did my best to give him a nice birthday celebration. We have an income gap, but it wasn't even about money. I was making less money last year and I still made things work for him. I made myself pretty, got my eyebrows and eyelashes done, and had my hair done. We were told to pose and pretend to blow the candles, because I didn't want to blow our germs on the cake. Then we each had a picture alone with the cake. When it was my turn, I was holding the cake when he pushed my face towards the cake, so I tried to fight it. His family started cheering, and he arched over my body and forced me to bend over until my face smashed into the cake. My friends tried to get him off me, and he resorted to plastering cake and frosting on my hair. I don't need to describe the mess because I'll never be able to end this post, but I ended up slapping him when he attempted to do it again. His mother got up and she got into an argument with one of my guests. I had to cross the main floor with cake all over my face to use the restroom. When I looked in the mirror, I had cake on my neck, and my blouse had red and blue coloring that didn't come off. I had to wash my face and got my hair in a bun because it looked less messy that way. When I came back, his family were all long faces. I told him what he did was unacceptable, and he said it was just a joke, that everybody has done that for ages, and that me slapping him just ruined my image in front of his family. I started crying and gathered all my stuff to leave. I notified him that he should pay for himself and his guests. My friends insisted on paying for their own food, but I refused, and we ended the night right there. My friends wanted to treat me to having dinner elsewhere, but I wasn't comfortable with my appearance. They ended up sending me the money that I spent, and that broke my heart. Charles had to pay for half the remaining bill and got charged a cleaning fee. I still love him, but I'm clear that I'll never be able to forgive him. We talked about it, and I ended things. He's convinced that I never loved him. He acknowledged what he did was wrong, but is adamant that his family hates me for slapping him and that it's my fault. I told him that he ruined not only our birthday, but also my way to celebrate my career milestone. I've worked very hard to get to where I am, and that his behavior showed me what my future will look like. And that I'm sorry to say it, but he was so aggressive and so focused on making his family laugh at my expense that I just realized he's not good enough, and that I've lost my confidence to be seen with him in public, because I don't know what else he will pull out of his ass. He says he paid for that cake, that he's not saying that it was okay to smash it, but it's not like I paid for everything. He wanted me to apologize to his mom, but I refused. Important, I'm not proud of my reaction. We've never had any physical altercations. He says his mother feels humiliated because of what I did, and that she has been struggling with mild depression for years. I didn't know, and I came off as violent. Am I the asshole for refusing? I already blocked him. Edit. His guests paid for the other half of his bill after being told they needed not pay for anything. This whole smashing someone's face into a cake thing sounds like something, he saw in movies and whatnot, and thought this would be so funny and quirky to do in real life. But things just did not turn out the way he expected. And honestly, he should have taken the hint and stopped when she started struggling against him. But even with OP fighting back, he continued to forcefully shove her face into the cake. There's a point where it stops being a funny joke, but apparently he felt the need to follow through. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you for watching. As always, I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. So take care, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one.